Mr. Mfume? Chair recognizes Mr. Mfume for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and the ranking member for convening us today on this hearing. And I want to go back to something that the ranking member said that I think is important to keep in mind. There was an unspoken doctrine in this body that all politics stop at the water's edge. And we've had over the years to push ourselves and to push each other to make sure that we try not to go back and particularly always assign blame, but to find a way to move forward. And so I hope that the moving forward on this is where we are. Some of us are old enough to remember 1975 when Saigon fell and the optics, which looked so much like the optics in August of 2021. But there was a push, and I urge that we continue to push now, but that we move forward in looking at the real things that trouble us. And one of the things that troubles me, quite frankly, about this whole report is this issue of not enough accountability. I don't know how any of us can defend that. I mean, I'm simultaneously in a small business committee meeting looking at the amount of fraud in the PPP program. So we're always going back to try to find a way to be more accountable to taxpayers, to the American public, and to be more accountable to the truth in all of this. Mr. Sapko, I should let you know that Congress, committee Democrats here on this committee and the previous Congress, including Chairwoman Maloney and Chairman Lynch and staff and others, repeatedly encouraged and pushed agencies to cooperate with SIGAR. I mean, repeatedly. So I regret today, quite frankly, sir, hearing that the State Department, DOD, and USAID have produced some documents, provided some written responses, and participated in some meetings, but have not given the full cooperation that is sought. And I want to underscore something that the ranking member said earlier also, that it's the intention of this committee to always support the work of inspector generals. If we don't do that, then it's pretty difficult for us to move forward with any sense of legitimacy. And so given the extraordinary importance of SIGAR's work, including the role in helping Congress and the American people to better understand where we are, I'm going to, on the record, urge all three of those agencies today to cooperate more so that we might not be in a position of hearing what we've heard today or in a position of frustration like I am right now, knowing that, that there's apparently more information, more documents, more discussions that should be held and ought to be held. I'm not saying they have to be held in public, but they've got to be held with the Inspector General to find out where we are. We're all concerned about this issue of funding the Taliban indirectly. And as I sit here today, I'm under the assumption that that's what we regrettably seem to be doing. The World Bank Trust Fund has not been able to verify fraud diversion. If that's taking place, we need to know. These are billions and billions of dollars out of the U.S. Treasury that if they're not going to do what they ought to do, could be better spent at home. But they should be getting into Afghanistan to protect what we see going on with girls and with women there, the tremendous suppression of human rights. And if that's not occurring, then we really do, ladies and gentlemen, have a big task before us in making sure that that takes place. So, Mr. Sapko, and the other thing that grabbed me is that you said clearly on the record that you cannot guarantee that we are not indirectly funding the Taliban as a result of not having the proper information you need. That's scary to note. I mean, I would trust the Taliban as far as I could throw them also. And the fact that they have armaments that have been left behind, the fact that they claim to be a sovereign, independent state now, and the fact that they claim that they don't have to do anything to comply with U.S. requests concerns me. I know they've been hanging out with, for lack of a better term, the Chinese and the Russians and the snuggling up and creating new allies, but for us, the security of women and children in Afghanistan remains a paramount concern, and the accountability of agencies of the United States government to all inspector generals must be a principle that we are guided by, that we live by, and that we pledge to defend. So again, I appreciate this hearing. from both the chairman and the ranking member. It helps to get us further down the road and prevents us, I think, from kind of looking back and pointing the finger, but looking forward and saying, here's what we must do now while we have the power to protect the process that has always guided us in the Congress in the United States in the correct way. So, Mr. Chairman, I would yield back, and I thank you for the time.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mfume.